Well, good morning. We're excited to worship together, excited to dive into God's Word. It's a full house, which is always an amazing time just to gather together. Praise team sounded amazing. Hey, we started this new series today. It's called Desires, looking at that our lives are shaped really by what we love more than what we know. Our habits, our choices, our priorities, all these things flow ultimately from the heart, the things that we desire. And so we're going to take the next couple weeks to look at how we can guard our hearts. We can desire God even when the seasons of life are hard. Ultimately, that we can love Jesus deeper and that we can live this all out through obedience. And so we'll spend the next, this week and the next 3 weeks after this just looking at desires. And the truth is, as I was diving into this series, I got to thinking, you don't wind up anywhere by accident. I was thinking, when I was a kid, we lived out on an old blacktop road, and we're about 5 miles from town, and I would ride the school bus to school, and the rule at my house was I could ride my bike on the gravel road, and so we were about 3 football fields from the gravel road, and so I'd ride my bike through the ditch, and once I got onto the gravel, I could really go wherever I wanted to go. My mom really never told me anything different, and so as I would ride the bus, I got to watching those gravel roads. They all interconnected, and I could get to town by gravel. So I got to thinking as a young boy, I'm going to ride my bike to town. Now, if we lived 5 miles by blacktop, you can imagine how far that was by gravel. And all I had was just me and my Huffy, and so I took off, and I started riding to town, and I'm telling you, it was mile 1 was good, mile 2, I was conquering the world, and I think I could honestly walk through it today and take you to the exact path that I went, and finally I get to town. That was exciting, because now I'm this old country boy, but now I'm doing city boy things on my bicycle, riding on sidewalks. You know how much better sidewalks ride than gravel roads? Oh, it's amazing. I was going to see all my friends. I was showing them my Huffy. I had a blue Huffy, no joke, and it had front shocks. And I don't even know where it's at now, but I'm telling you, I love that thing. And so I ride all the way to town. I ride around town. I don't know if I was supposed to be in town. But the rule is you can ride anywhere on gravel. It's not my fault that it led me to town. Well, something happened. I ran out of energy. That's an issue because I still had a good 7-mile bike home. And I knew I wasn't going to make it. Plus, it was starting to get dark, and I am self-admittedly afraid of the dark. And so I was like, well, you know what I'm going to have to do? I'm going to have to call my mother. And I still have our landline memorized to this day, 796-2882. And so I went to my buddy Willie's house. I said, can I use your phone? He said, sure. And I called my mom, and ring, ring, and she answers it. And I said, you're never going to have the craziest thing. I'm in town. And she said, you're what? I said, yeah, you know those gravel roads. I just kept riding, and poof, I just wound up in town. How long have you been in town? I just tell my mother, you don't need to worry about the finer details of life. Your boy is safe, and your boy needs a ride. Now, I would have told my kids just to figure it out. Actually, my wife would have already been freaking out, and we would have been scoundering the whole countryside trying to find these kids. But my mom came and got me. And as I was thinking of that, I didn't wind up in town on accident. I knew exactly. I wanted to go there. I mean, I wanted to go to town. I wanted to see my friends. I wanted to show my bike off. Like, I wanted to be there. The same thing is true in our lives. Like, where we wind up, like, where it's not by accident. Like, nobody ever wakes up and says, I think I'm going to wreck my marriage today. I think that I'm going to drift away from God today. I think I'm going to slowly become somebody I don't want to do. But we end up in these places, and then we do this. We're like, I don't know what happened. Like, all of a sudden my marriage was over. All of a sudden I was just deep in sin, and I have no clue what happened. The book of Proverbs, Proverbs 4, where we're going to be today, this is what it says. You do. You know exactly how you got where you are, and it's because you followed what you loved. And so we're going to look at that today. And so starting in chapter 4, verse 20 of Proverbs, it says, my son. So this is a father talking to his son. My son, pay attention to my words. Listen closely to my sayings. Don't lose sight of them. Keep them within your heart, for they are life to those who find them and health to one's whole body. Guard your heart above all else, for it is the source of life. Don't let your mouth speak dishonestly, and don't let your lips talk deviously. Let your eyes look forward. Fix your gaze straight ahead. Carefully consider the path of your feet, and all your ways will be established. Don't turn to the right or to the left. Keep your feet away from evil. The first point I want you guys to see today is what you love will shape who you become. The things that you love will shape who you become. Our love for things are always forming who we are. Like nobody just wakes up and becomes who they are by accident. You love something and it slowly starts to form you. Now, I joke around, I say I did my time in student ministry like it was a prison sentence, but I did. I did my time in prison or in student ministry. Slit out. And honestly, I enjoyed it a lot, and I got to meet a lot of great students. And my least favorite thing in all of student ministry, outside of the parents of the students, was that the students would date. That was by far the worst. And so I have a saying that I've told everybody for years: girls, boys are dirty until you're 30. Girls, you should avoid all boys until you're 30 years old if he's not a direct relative of yours. Other than that, they're just dirty. They smell funny. They walk funny. All of it. But these girls, they would not listen to me, and they would get into these relationships. And you know what happens when two people get into a relationship? They start to act like one another. Like she's not in here this time, but you guys know Madison that sings up here, the blonde-haired girl? Man, Madison used to be just this amazing, sweet little girl. And she started dating Braden. And all of a sudden, she started developing these corny sense of humor jokes. And she laughs at things, and I'm like, that is such dad humor. And you guys have probably seen it. If you've watched people start to date, they start to do the same things. It's even gross now that I've got a daughter. They laugh the same. I'm like, stop laughing. You're not allowed to laugh or anything anymore. And they morph into each other. Well, why is that? Because they're in love. And they're so enamored with it that's all they're intaking, and they slowly start to look like it. Their music style will change. I mean, I'm telling you, I'd watch teenage boys who never listen to country music a day in their life start dating a girl that listened to country music, and all of a sudden they're listening to Chris Ledoux and they've bought a cowboy hat. And I'm like, what in the world happened? Seriously, everything changes. I don't think I owned socks that didn't go up to my knees or shorts that didn't go down to my ankles before I started dating my wife. And all of a sudden, now I had to get new socks. I didn't know ankle socks existed. And maybe I was buying ankle socks. Maybe I just had short calves. I don't know. But because you love something, it will slowly start to shape your identity. It will slowly start to make you who you are, and it happens gradually. It's these little compromises and these little shifts, and all of a sudden, you look differently than you did. Well, the truth is this: that doesn't stop in teenage love. The same thing is true for those who sit in this room, that we may think we grow out of it. We may think we're getting better at hiding it, but the things that you love are shaping who you are. As you're sitting there scrolling your phone, the things that you stop and you look at, the things that you sit there and you fantasize about when it's quiet, the things that you start to think about and your mind runs to, the things you protect at all costs, those things that you love are not shaping who you will become. They are honestly shaping who you are right now. And so it's not someday, it's not eventually, but right now, the things that you love in your life are shaping who you are. And so the question is this: what do you love? In all honesty, what are the things in your life that you love? And are they forming you to look more like Jesus, or are they drawing you away from him? The things that you love in your life. Now, those things that you love, they come from the heart. And so the second point is your heart is the source of your direction. If the things that we love shape who we are, well, the heart is the thing that gives us our direction. And we, of course, I grew up with Disney, and you've got to follow your heart and all those things. And the Bible teaches that the heart is wicked and deceitful amongst all things. And so there's this heart thing that we have, this desire inside of us. Proverbs 4:23 says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Now, this flows from it. It's a word picture that maybe we miss in English, but it's a picture of a spring bursting forward. And I don't know if you've been to Merrimack or Bennett Springs, but it's always amazing when you can hear the statistics about how many gallons of water are pushing up from under the ground into these springs. They'll feed rivers, for miles and miles and miles. That's the picture, that the things that we love in our heart, that they burst forward into our life. They give us the direction of our lives. So it's the source of our life, our heart is. And so sometimes we say things like, when we talk about anger, well, I've got a temper problem. When we talk about lust, well, I've just got a lust problem. We talk about anxiety, well, I've just got stress problems. Or we talk about drifting from God, and it's like, well, I've got consistency problems. Here's what the Bible would teach. You just have a heart problem. There is something that is wrong in your heart. There is a heart issue that exists. Luke 6, verse 45 says, a good person produces good out of the good stored up in his heart. And an evil person produces evil out of the evil stored up in his heart. For his mouth speaks from the overflow of his heart. You guys remember the old saying, what's down in the well comes up in the bucket? And if the water's poisonous or the water's rotten in the bottom of the well, well, it don't matter what kind of bucket you use. I mean, you can use an old wooden bucket. You could use a nice metal bucket. You could use a golden bucket. You could use a diamond encrusted bucket. Like, you could use whatever bucket. And if you drop a bucket into a well that has poisonous water, guess what you pull up every time? Poison water. Every single time, no matter what the bucket is. Because the truth is that what's in the heart is what's going to come out. It is going to be what gives us our direction. And so we think of sin. I think of sin in my life and maybe in your life. And sin isn't just disobedience. It's really disordered love. It's that the love, the things that we love in our heart, we've got those placed before God. And yes, and maybe a lot of times, like, there are things that are just down, out, just rotten. And we know we shouldn't be doing them. But sometimes there's things that are good. Like, I think of comfort. Who really doesn't like to be comfortable? Just a second ago, I was adjusting the thermostat so you guys would be comfortable. And the thermostat has a thing on it called auto mode. Like, you don't have to get too hot. You don't have to get too cold. You can just have the best of both worlds. Because comfort is really a good thing. But whenever we say that my comfort outweighs what God's called me to do, well, guess what it became? It became a sinful thing. You think about approval. I mean, I really don't know people who don't want to be liked. I mean, honestly, it's not that we want everyone to say, man, that's like everyone loves us. But the truth is, like, for the most part, I don't want people to think I'm a jerk. Like, I want people to approve of me, but not at the sake of what God's called me to do. And so even approval, think about control. Like control. If the opposite of control is being out of control, well, who wants to be out of control? Like, who wants their finances out of control, or their life out of control, or their kids out of control, or in the ice, your car out of control? I mean, we want control. But what happens when our control runs into what God's called us to do? Well, it's a good thing that just become a sinful thing. The same is true for success or escaping. And that's why, honestly, telling yourself don't do that anymore doesn't work. Because you cannot suppress the true desires of your heart. They'll end up coming out. Why do you think New Year's resolutions fail so many times? Because people love food more than they love working out. Like, they're more in love with the food than they are the results, or they're more in love with buying things than they are saving money. Like the desire of their heart is whatever they're trying not to do. And so we make New Year's resolutions and we just tell ourselves, well, you just need to white knuckle it and you need to press on and you're going to make it. But I'll tell you what the Bible is teaching us is that the desire problem comes from our heart. And you can't reorder that. So what must we do? We must get a new heart. That's what the Bible teaches. That's what Ezekiel teaches, is that God will give us a new heart. He doesn't come in and play doctor. The Bible teaches that the heart that's in us, and it's talking about a spiritual heart, that heart is completely broken, that it desires things of the flesh, that it's corrupt. And the truth is this, you need someone to come in and take the old heart out and give you a new heart. And that's the message of the gospel. Is that it's not about pressing on. It's not about doing better. It's not about fixing your behavior or going to church and looking a certain way. It's about a guy named Jesus Christ taking your old, dead, rotten, corrupt heart, taking it out and giving you a new heart that has new desires, that doesn't look like it used to. And some of us in this room are still operating off that old, dead, rotten heart, but we're acting like we've got it better on the outside. But the truth is, just like the water in the well, it doesn't matter what it looks like on the outside. If your heart on the inside is corrupt and dead and broken, you're going to end up in a place called hell. And the only way outside of that to get to heaven is through a guy named Jesus. And so our heart gives us our direction. And some of us just need to cry out. You think about it like this. You guys, maybe you use a GPS. Maybe you're old school and you still know where like certain trees are and you know where to go. But imagine if you hopped in your car and you told the people in your car, today we shall go to the zoo in St. Louis. You get on your GPS and you punch it in, and you punch in Kansas City Zoo, and it gives you your little time to beat, which is getting harder to do because now they're calculating your last drive with the new drive, and that time to beat is just getting a lot harder. So it says 2 hours, and you're like, well, I got to make it in an hour and 10 minutes. Like, I want PRs every time, guys. And so you get in the car, and you're ready. Like, you're going to set a PR, and you hop up, and you run up to Kingdom City, and you turn left on I-70, because that's what the GPS told you to do, and you're like, we are going to make it. We're going to have the fastest time ever. I'm going to work so hard, and you're driving so hard, you're sweating. Like, you're passing people on the shoulder. Like, you're doing everything you shouldn't be doing. And you're telling your kids, like, we are going to get there. I don't care how hard I got to work. We are going to show up, and we're going to be the first ones to the zoo, and we're going to have the best time. And you show up, and you put it in park, and you tell kids, we've made it. And they look at you and say, well, Dad, I thought we were going to the St. Louis Zoo. And you look at them and you say, you know how hard I worked to get you here? Yeah, but Dad, you worked really hard. And you were driving really crazy. And we thought we were going to really die. But this is Kansas City Zoo, not the St. Louis Zoo. You know, your hard work and your efforts and everything that you did would be a wash because your destination was the wrong place. And spiritually, you can work really, really hard your whole life. But if the destination is not in the right place, you're going to wind up in the wrong place. And so some of us need to just have our destination rerouted. And the truth is, you can't do it yourself. Jesus has to do it for you. And most people don't realize it until they show up in the parking lot and they realize, I'm in the wrong place. And that's why we get texts like in Matthew where it says, depart from me, for I did not know you. And the guy goes, but I did works. I cast out demons in your name. I performed miracles. He says, I don't know you. Get out here. Because the destination was in the wrong place. It sounds like the works were in the right place. Doing miracles, casting out demons, all these things in the name of Jesus. And Jesus said, well, I don't know you. They had the right destination, but honestly, they had the wrong destination. Or they had the right effort with the wrong destination. So, I want you to know, though, you don't drift towards Christ. We talked about drift a couple weeks ago. Like, you never will drift closer to Christ. You have to understand that the heart, that the sin nature that we're going to live with, even after we get a new heart, we have this sin nature. It is always going to drift us away from Christ. And so I've got some questions for you. What do your desires constantly pull you towards? What are the things that your heart is constantly pulling you towards? When you're tired or you're stressed or you've unguarded your heart, like, where's your heart go? Where's your heart run to in these things? What do you think is finally going to make you feel secure or happy or complete? Like what are those things? And the reason I want you to ask yourself these is because if you'll ask these, it will do a real heart check in your life. Like, what really makes you happy? What really would give you security? Like, here's a sobering one. If nothing changed today in your life for the next 5 years, where would your heart take you? If for the next 5 years nothing changed and you just chased after your desires right now, where would you wind up? If it's not closer to Jesus, if it's not looking more like Jesus, then you need to change some things so that in 5 years you don't look back, shrug your shoulders and say, I have no clue how I was in church every week. I have no clue how I was reading my Bible. I have no clue how I was praying every day. But now I've wound up in a relationship, living outside of marriage, having sex, doing things I shouldn't do. And you're just like, what in the world happened? You drifted. The desire of your heart was not truly in the Lord. And so things crept in. Here's another one to ask yourself. Are you actually following Christ? Or are you just asking him to bless the direction of your life? Because Jesus, if it's true, which we believe it's true, that he's King of Kings and Lord of Lords, well, let me tell you, he plays second chair to nobody. Like, he is the leader. He is the king. That's kingship. We submit to him, which means if we're not following him, then all we're doing is asking King Jesus, hey, would you just come along, pat me on the back and say, keep doing what you're doing? The third point is this: what you consume will fuel what you love. This father writing this to the son, he says, pay close attention, listen. He says, don't let your mouth speak dishonestly. Don't let your lips talk deviously. Let your eyes look forward, fix your gaze, carefully consider the path of your feet. What he's telling him is watch what you listen to. Watch what you look at. Watch the things that you say. Watch where you go. The father's telling the son, like, be careful what you expose yourself to, what you let into yourself, because what you let in eventually comes out. The more that it comes in, the more that these things feed you, the more that your heart runs off these things that are being inputted, the more those things come out. You think about if you're a cool person, you got Spotify. If you're weird, you got Amazon Music. And if you're just an Apple fanboy, you probably got Apple Music. And if you're old, you're probably thinking, well, I've got AM and FM. I don't know what these other three are. That's okay. That's okay. Spotify, though, they do something amazing every year. At the end of the year, they give you your Spotify Wrapped. And it's a pretty cool little thing. Every account gets one. It'll tell you how many times you listen to your number one song, like your actually top 10 songs. It'll tell you your favorite genre of music. It'll even give you like a little personality. Like it does all kinds of stuff. And then you're like comparing with your friends, like who listened to music more, like what was your top song? And people are like, it was Taylor Swift. And I'm like, that's disgusting, but no, keep moving on. And that's what you do with this Spotify. You know how it gets all that information? By what you listen to. Whatever you give it, it pumps out at the end of the year. And here's what's wild about music. Music has a very strong hold in people's life. Like, it will shape your mood. You don't believe me? Next time you're road raging, like, throw on some death metal and tell me you don't park your car in their living room. Like, I'm telling you, you get angry and you throw on death metal, you're committing, minimally a misdemeanor. Like, if you're sad and you put on country music, like, I'm telling you, you're just going to be, like, sitting there crying, like, holding some strange dog that you found on the side of the road. Like, life is over. Like, but if you're in a good mood, like, and you put on good music, like, now all of a sudden you're, like, beat-bopping your head and you're excited. Be in a good music and put on a breakup song. Be in a good music and play the song, like, How Do I Say Goodbye? Like, all of a sudden you were, like, happy and now you're crying. Like, I don't even know how to say goodbye. It's like, you were just happy, like, and you feel like a teenage girl some days. But that's what music does. Like, music will do that to you. And before long, what you listen to, like, that is just the mood you're in. If that is true musically, how much truer is that spiritually? That these things that we put in, the news that we continue to intake, that we don't think that's going to train the way that we see things. That the social media that we sit there and scroll for hours and hours, like, you don't think that's creating comparison in your heart? That everything you do, you look at through a lens of what they have or what they did, or the entertainment. Man, entertainment's wild. Like, I'm not 50 years old yet, but in my mind, I remember 50 years ago when if they said the Lord's name in vain on a movie, you'd be like, what in the world? Now they get awards for who can say the F word more times. Like, the more you allow that in, the harder your heart becomes to the thing God would say, that's sinful. You shouldn't partake in it. You think about conversations. Man, if I'm in a bad mood and I call somebody up that's also in a bad mood, like, we stay in a bad mood. If I call somebody that complains up, guess what we do? We complain. Like, the conversations we have. All these things that whatever you constantly give your attention to will eventually shape your affection. You allow all that stuff in. I'm telling you, eventually that is what is going to come out in your life. So is what you're feeding your heart teaching you to love the Lord more? Or is it teaching you, or is it quietly crowding him out? And so then the question for me is, well, in what world do I do? I guess I've become some weirdo. Like, I don't listen to anything that's not Christian music. Like, I'm not allowed to enjoy any movie unless it's been put out by Angel Studios. Like, I can't watch the new. Where is the happy medium for my life? Because I surely don't want to allow all this stuff to come in and to crowd my life, where I get 10 years down the road, I shrug my shoulders and I say, well, I used to be a pastor. I don't know what in the world happened. Like, I don't want that to happen, but I also don't want to be weird. Like, I want to enjoy some things. So here's the challenge, to just be intentional about it. Whatever you let in, be intentional about those things that you let in. To allow the things that fuel you to say, man, I'm going to be intentional, which means if you're going to allow it in, to allow other things in, maybe more or at least equally. Like, listen, I can't work out to Christian music. I just can't do it. I don't know what it is. Like, you can't lift heavy weights to Praise Be the Father. Like, maybe you can, but I can't. Like, I can't deadlift to, like, I can only imagine. Like, I can't do that. I only imagine when this workout's over and I get to go home and eat. Like, that's what I'm thinking. And so I like to listen to, like, rap music. Like, I like to turn it up loud where I can't even hear my thoughts. But, if I do that every day, like that, like, it shapes those things because it's what I consume. So to be intentional about it. Which, that's the last point, is to guard your heart. Guarding your heart is a daily decision. That's what he tells his son, above it all, above all else, above watching your eyes, watching your feet, watching your ears, watching what you say, guard your heart. Well, why is that above all else? You guard your heart, the rest of those will fall into place. You guard what's coming into your heart, what comes out of your mouth will fall into place. You guard what's going into your heart, like you're going to guard what's coming in your ears. You're going to guard the places that you be. Above all else means make this daily choice every single day to guard your heart. Well, what does that look like for us? Well, you guys can imagine, you guys have houses like I have houses. My house has maybe 15, 20 doors in it. I've never counted them. Maybe it's got 10 doors. I have no clue how many doors we have, but we have doors inside. Of all the doors in my house, 3 of them have been designed differently. We've put a deadbolt on all 3 of them. One of them's got a smart keypad, so we never have to take our keys, and then if the battery dies, we just buy a new house. I don't know how that works, actually. Whatever you do, I guess we move out. It was a nice house. We're gone. But they've got deadbolts. Like we've designed them differently. Now, Ryan over here, I could only imagine if he drove past my house at 2 a.m. and my front door was wide open, he would think, what is going on? Maybe he stops. I don't know. Maybe he checks on me, shoots me a text. Imagine if for 3 days, 4 days, he kept driving by. He would think, Travis has lost his ever-loving mind. Why is his front door wide open in my house? Well, why? Why would that be so alarming? Because you guys are probably thinking the same thing. Well, yeah, that would be dumb. Well, we've created these doors. I didn't create them. Someone else did. But they've made these doors for a purpose. What? To guard what's on the inside. My children. I'm not too worried about my dogs. You guys can have them if you're interested in them. But my possessions, like the things that are in there. So we've created these exterior doors to say whatever's on the outside, we don't want to say, hey, you can't come in. But we want to be intentional about what we have. So we funneled everything into an entryway. So we could say, I'm going to guard whoever comes in. I'm going to guard what time you come in. I'm going to make sure whoever's doing this or whatever it is that I have the final say before you come into my house. Well, that's the same thing about guarding your heart. You don't say, I can't let you in. You don't say it can't happen, but you say, I'm going to be very intentional about what comes in, who comes in, when it comes in, the mode and the means that it comes in. Because the truth is this, if you don't guard your heart, eventually the things that you input are going to make you who you are. And so it may be, I'll invite the praise team up, it may be that there's some things in your life right now that you need to say, I need to create a boundary right now with my life. I need to not be on my phone after a certain time of night. I need to not watch this show. I need to not let this be what fuels me. Maybe you need to put a filter on it that you just can't see it or it can't get through. Maybe it needs to be turned down or, heaven forbid, maybe it needs to be turned off. Maybe it needs to be confessed instead of managed. Maybe there's some things in your life right now that instead of saying, can I do this, you would say, is this even wise for me? Will this lead me towards God? Will this lead me towards life? And so there may be some things in your life, believers, that you guys need to deal with. Let me tell you, none of that matters if you've not been given a new heart. You can't safeguard if God's not giving you a new heart, because the truth is it's coming from the inside and it's what's coming out. And so I'm going to pray for you, and I want you guys to know this isn't about behavior modification. Like you cannot behave your way into what we're talking about. It starts with a heart transplant from Jesus Christ. And then it starts with us safeguarding what God's given us. So let's pray. Heavenly Father, Lord, we love you. Lord, we are so